Let's go to math. I didn't have time with the juniors on the math. We spent so much time on whatever. Let me bring the math down to levels here. Just first of all, two sections that are close to the SAT. They're close. They're not quite this long. They're just a tad bit shorter. But I think the 20 is correct. I believe that's on. Also, check the SAT. Section 3, PSAT, 20 minutes. 25 minutes, 20 questions. That's identical.
17 questions, 25.
Oh, 17 and 25. 17 and 25? Ooh, wow. They give you a little more time. Here's the problem. Notice no calculator on Section 3. I'll tell you the reason why. I just haven't seen any problems on Section 3 where a calculator would do you any good. So that's the reason. It's not they're trying to punish you for something. This is not calculator questions. If they ask you something that has to do with the remainder or something to do with factoring, calculator's not going to do you any good here. So I found the Section 3 calculator not needed. Section 4, yes, very helpful. And what calculator? Anyone that can do whatever you use in school. Whatever you know how to use. That's the key. Whatever will do whatever you need it to do. And how do you know? Practice to find out what they're going to ask. Remember, what's the worst thing you can do on a problem? Here comes down to the big one. This test has become pretty much, especially Section 3, saturated with one and only one element of math. And I want to know how many of you are good at it. I don't care what you took and what you got on a grade. I don't care how long ago. Do you remember it? And are you good at it? How many of you are good at Algebra 1? That's what it's about. That's what it's about. It's Algebra 1. Factoring. I work with a lot of younger students. I just had my 5th and 6th graders today. I'm teaching now the f of x for algebra. I figured they might as well learn now they're learning how to graph. But what is another word for f of x? It's the y value. I'll show you one problem. I'll have to dig up one problem. It's probably on here. I could look for it very quickly, but I just as soon give you one I know I have. Where the f of x, I'll tell you, it's the most important new problem on the SAT. And here's the reason. If you don't know how to do it, there's about 40 points on the line. If you do know how to do it, well, then you know how to do it. Then it's not a problem. There, this is simple. This is what I do with my 5th graders today, 5th and 6th graders. Now they know how to do it. Do you know how to do it? Answer is? You're close. I know you got the right idea, but no. 4 of these on every SAT. Probably about 3 or 4 on every ACT. Most common new problem on the SAT. Well, I must show how you do it because, yeah. What's another word for f of x? Y. They're telling you if the f of x is x plus 3, and then you find your y and you plot the point on the graph. They're telling you what's the x value here? And what's that plus that? And what's 4 of those? Bingo, that's how you do it. I just gave you 40 points. If you're not good in math, if you already knew it, then you're already on a higher level. Math is a hard element to improve on. You can read to improve, you can do grammar to improve, but how do you improve on math? Yeah, you have to learn it. That's a different problem. Now we're talking about, I've had people say, I got to go back to my Algebra 1. Well, if you're a senior, you can't say that. It's a little late. But if you're a sophomore, if you're a 6th grader, you got time to know Algebra 1 will be important. So if you have any younger siblings in the 7th grade or 6th grade or 8th grade, let them know when they get Algebra 1, they got to pay attention because they got to learn that stuff because it's going to come back on this test. Here's the other thing. How many of you are good at math? You're really good at math. You like math. Okay. Let me give you the problem with math. The only way you're going to get better is by seeing what you're doing wrong and learning it. The problem with that is learning it is not a quick process. So, and I'll give you another piece of news. Section 3 is a section that's the harder of the two sections. Of the two sections, that is harder. Section 4 has more problems, and people who are not good at math have just plain old told me this Section 3 is killing me. The good news is Section 4 is twice the length and has twice as many problems and is worth 2/3 of the score because they don't average them. That is out of 50 whatever questions on the PSAT, 58 on the SAT. So the math is cumulative. Both sections together. So if you're not good in math, don't let Section 3 destroy you. Hang in there. Do what you can. And let Section 4 be the one that will help you. Let's try a couple. Let's just see. Let's put it to the test. Have not looked at the math at all. We never had a chance with the juniors. We got time here. Life is exciting when you have time. Time is everything. The whole point of the SAT is time management. If you manage your time right, and if you know what you're doing, or if you pick up on the mistakes, and for the PSAT, it's practice. You're only going to get better. That's the good news. You're not going to forget any of this stuff. You know, that's the thing. How much do you know, though, already on the math? We'll find out. Let's try. Test. Notice all the formulas on the front. I don't know why you would need them if you don't know them already. And if you said, I have no idea what that's about, well, then you're probably not going to use it. If you see it on a test problem, you're probably not going to do it. You're probably going to be guessing and getting out. And frankly, I haven't seen that last two pictures, the last three, I haven't seen those on an SAT anytime in the recent memory. So let's go to the real thing. Let's see how it looks. Let's try question number, one looks pretty interesting. Let's try question 2. That looks better. Best way to do it, have a pencil, solve it. Sometimes you can plug in the answers, but I think you got to solve this. I don't see any answers that look that clean. I'll give you a minute. Should give you enough time. Let's get a pencil and let's work this little critter out here. See what we got. Number 2. What'd you get for number 2? How many got B? That's the answer. What kind of math? Yeah, Algebra 1. Good old Algebra 1. Where you literally have to just go ahead and work it out. What do you have to do for number 3? Here's a strategy, a little bit of a strategy. What do? Plug it in. Plug in the answers to see which one works. Actually, plug it in and see which one doesn't work. Right? See the common thread again in the strategies? If you could plug in the answers, do so. You could look at it. You don't have to you say, oh my God, that's 2 equations. I have to multiply both of them and then solve for it. No, you don't. There's a multiple choice test. You can just plug it in. Let's see if we have any time. Now, they don't get harder. ACT tends to go from basic to advanced math. This just tends to go from whatever to whatever. The last problem could be the easy one. Let's go to one of the later ones where we have grids. Let's try question 14. And at the same time, take a look at, that's page 41. Is everybody familiar with how to fill in the grids? Because they're not going to explain. You're not going to sit there reading this in the middle of a test. Grids don't give you multiple choices. You have to figure out the answer. So what you're basically doing is solving the problem. If the answer, say, comes out 1.5, and don't forget, you have to bubble them in. Would it be correct to say if it's 1.5? If I bubbled in 1.5, 1 and 1/2, that's 1.5. Is that 1.5? You got to write them in the boxes, because look what I bubbled in. If I just write what I bubbled a 1, a slash, and a 2. What did I just bubble in? 11/2. That is not 1.5. You cannot bubble in 1.5 like that. How do you have to bubble it in? 1.5, or, as a fraction, 3/2. That is the one rule you have to be aware of. You cannot put in a mixed number. It's got to be an improper fraction, or a decimal. You cannot put in a mixed number. So that's why it's so important when you fill in the bubbles, and you have the answer bubbles, fill it in the box first, just to make sure you're bubbling in what you said you're supposed to be filling in. Otherwise, you may make a dumb mistake. Do I see an f of x? No, I'm looking for an f of x in here somewhere. Let's try number 14. See how easy it is. Pretend you're bubbling it in if it comes out to be a mixed number. That's the grids. This is the hard section. Give you another second. You got them already, right? You know calculator, but you might. Answer is 300. 300. Add 6 to both sides, times it by 10, you got your answer. So how do you get better at this test? Practice what you got here. See what mistakes you make. See if you can figure it out if it's a mistake or if you just didn't know what you were doing or if it's a tough problem. Now that we got section 3, let's go to section 4, the last section, the friendliest section. Lots of questions. 45 minutes on the PSAT, 55 minutes, I believe it is, on the SAT. It is 55 minutes on the SAT, so it's just a little longer. They give you an extra 7 questions. Same. Let's try. Notice, you might say, they look kind of long. Yeah, but you just look, what do you have to do on number 1? What is it they want you to do? What is it they're looking for? The equation. That's all they want. They don't want you to solve it, just want you to set it up. So it takes you a minute to read it. Time's not a problem with the math. You do the ones you can do. And if you don't have enough time, what you didn't do, talk about not enough time. Take a look at the last 2 questions of this section. And it's true for SAT and PSAT. Take a look at questions. In this case, it's 30 and 31. On the SAT, it's 37 and 38. Let me give you a hint on these 2. They are not worth the time. They originally were meant to be 2-point problems. When they first came out with the SAT, these were 2-point problems. It was actually 30A and 30B. But it was a nightmare scoring it like that. And before the first test came out, and the books already had come out with the samples, they changed their mind and decided to call it just 30 and 31, or in the SAT, 37 and 38, and just call them 1 point, leave it at that. However, that said, they never really reduced the fact that these 2 problems are long. Now, if you're going for an 800, you need time for this, because they're not hard, but they take a long time. If you're not going for a perfect score, do not worry if you don't get to those last 2 problems. They are really not worth the time. So don't feel, if you said, I couldn't get to the last 2, don't feel like you lost anything. You did just fine. Let's end with one last problem. Oh my God, look at that one. That looked kind of scary. V of O with GT, H is VOT. Looks like they're spelling something. What, they want you to go out and vote? What the heck? GH, good. That's how I look at it. I go, vote, good. Just remember, these are not the problems you have to worry about. If you're going for a top score, when I take a practice, I always like to do those first because I want to get them out of the way and see how bad they really are. They're really not bad. They just take a long time to figure out what they're asking. Let's go to the best part of the test, which is the beginning of it. First problem. Let's just try it. We got time to do number. We already looked at 1. 2 and 3 look too long to read. Let's try number. We'll do one more. We'll try number 5. If you can get number 5 before time runs out, you're ready for the PSAT. And if not, you're still ready for the PSAT. How many have an answer already? Ooh, you're fast. Now, accuracy is important. Fast is good, but accuracy is just as important. What's the best way to solve this problem? Substitute. Plug in the numbers. See what works. That's what multiple choice is good for. Oh, if you solve for X and solve for Y, that'll be good. You can do it. I know, exactly. You don't need to do it. Exactly. Math teachers have a problem teaching this test because when I get into math mode, I show it with the algebra. But it may not be the fastest way of doing it. But that's an algebra way you can do it. But it's unnecessary. However, if you like algebra and you do it this way, what's the main goal? To not keep somebody outside of college. The main goal here is to get it right. Not to beat the umpire. I can't do that. Can't change them. Answer is C is the answer. You've got a good handle on the PSAT. You got a good handle on the SAT because they're one and the same. Now the only thing is, how well can you do when you get the test scores back? And don't forget to fill that questionnaire out, a real valuable questionnaire. When you get the scores back, look over your mistakes. And that becomes the ultimate final determinant as to how far you can go when you take the SAT. So I'll turn the microphone over. Mahalo for your help, and may you be the reason other people have to rethink their future.